Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this latest edition of Tales from Outer Space. And as always, I hope that you enjoy. Story number 1. Human Inadequacy Saves the Day, written by Tom Massa. When humanity was first encountered, it wasn't immediately recognized that they were an intelligent species. Their technology was so far below galactic standards that their communication signals were ignored as background radiation, and the ships so unstealthy that it was assumed that they were a natural phenomenon. However, contact was eventually made, and they were excited to be invited into the Interstellar Union. They were relatively backwards and struggled to keep up, and often failed to do so with more advanced members of the Union. However, over the course of 121 years, humans were able to at least bring their technology inadequacies to within 2 to 3 generations of our own. This is when the Pukruxu Empire ended a 3,971-year period of isolation and peace and began to expand violently, and exterminating any sentient life on planets saying they needed breathing room. Of course, the Union stood united against the threat, and we moved to stop them. Immediate mobilization was limited as many worlds near the Pukruxu border were swallowed nearly immediately, and there was little that we could do to bring them. The Union was unprepared for military response of this size and began to mobilize a mass force. The Pukruxu likewise moved to solidify their gains, knowing that further conflict was inevitable. They committed a number of cloaked vessels to hunt the vast interstellar trade routes and to attack small and isolated supply ships and troop vessels. They also deployed a massive super dreadnought called the BSM-RCK-01. It was the first of a new class of vessels with enormous firepower. Smaller escort vessels were unable to do any damage to the BSM-RCK-01 before they and the convoy they accompanied were reduced to radioactive ash. Knowing that was such a threat crippled the entire war effort and must be neutralized, a task force was assembled, and the humans insisted that they be a part of it. Initially, they were kindly told no. Their forces, while welcome, were far too technologically inferior and could do nothing but die and reveal our locations. Privately, we joked about humans charging with knives drawn into the teeth of machine gun nests. The hard truth was that modern space combat distances were measured in light seconds, and weapons were powerful energy projectors. Humans were entirely outclassed. They continued to rely on chemical explosive ordnance. Their ships were small compared to all other races, but their detection cross-section was 2 to 3 times what it should have been due to the ship's poor stealth characteristics. In short, humans would die. Unfortunately, the first sortie to destroy the BSM-RCK-01 went poorly. Much of our fleet was destroyed or seriously mangled. It would take months before additional forces could arrive in theater, and that would cause an unattainable loss of material, and the sector would be lost to the Pukruxu, which would be pushing them back to the original borders nearly impossible. If they were going to be stopped, it had to be here, and it had to be now. My colleagues joked that maybe the humans could at least distract the ship for a minute. The briefing was easily one of the most unusual ones that I have ever had the privilege of attending in my long career with the Tekek Navy. The captains of all the vessels participating were in attendance. There were 3 Creek standing tall in their rebreather suits, 6 of the Sios in a tight bunch enjoying the closeness of their kind craves, and 4 Tekek, led by a planning, and 15 human captains scattered about. I'll say this, the humans have an excellent tactical insight and understand their weaknesses and strengths. We knew the relative position of the BSM-RCK-01 thanks to some highly sophisticated eavesdropping we had done. The humans volunteered to come from 3 different directions and attempt to pin the BSM-RCK-01 in position to allow the larger guns of the Union fleet to engage the threat. While reckless and suicidally brave of them, this seemed the most sensible choice. They were warned that the size of the BSM-RCK-01 was enormous, and that their weapons probably couldn't do more than cosmetic damage. I noted that there were a number of venting areas, control surfaces, and other vulnerable areas that they should target. 2 of the humans looked at each other and said, "Ditch jog," and slapped their hands together. Translation software still hasn't been able to adapt the human colloquial speech patterns. When the battle was engaged, the humans proved to be even more suicidal than was expected. Scout vessels detected the BSM RCK-01 moving, and the human vessels drove hard towards her. As we got sensor information from our scouts and the humans, our targeting computers began to crunch numbers as we moved into position, projecting course, speed, direction, etc. With several light seconds lead time gave no clear firing solutions, our ships moved into position while the humans serpentined towards the target. When the BSM RCK-01 opened fire, we were all hugely surprised when they scored no hits. None. Guns that ripped apart our best and brightest continually missed their marks. Often, these misses were narrow in galactic terms, light milliseconds, even microseconds. After tense minutes, Second Gunnery Officer Choakai began laughing, and everyone turned to him, seeking explanation. They are too primitive to be shot. Seeing everyone's confusion, he continued, they project a much larger signature than their physical presence, so when the targeting computers aim for the breacher engines, they're aiming for empty space. They are moving at slower rates than our ships, so targeting isn't adjusting for just how inadequate they are. Reports from the human vessels began to come in. They had launched every weapon they carried against the BSM RCK-01. Although many of the shots struck home and were well aimed, the mass and the armor of the BSM RCK-01 was simply too massive, and no fatal or significant structural damage was inflicted. The captain of the Swordfish concluded his report by saying that they were disengaging and maneuvering to avoid the port side of the target and significant damage to maneuvering engines on that side. True enough, we were able to detect that the BSM could only turn left. Chotakai nearly hooted in excitement as he added variables to his targeting system. Suddenly, we had a firing solution. End of story. Story number 2. Ambush, written by Dayamik.
Soon the grass planet will be ours,
whispered Captain Ayu. The Hummies were winning the war for the grass-covered planet, but Ayu was determined to change that.
Shut up, this attack is supposed to be an ambush.
E shook her head as the over-enthusiastic captain.
It is not like the Humies can hear us anyway. These fancy soundproof suits are worth more than your life.
Captain Ayu's ears pressed against his skull as he panted. He had to resist the urge to wiggle with excitement as the Humies came closer. Those bipedal freaks won't know what hit them, he thought. With a roar, he announced, "Squadron, attack!" 30 ooze leapt out of the grassy cover. Instead of facing a small pack of surprised and panicked Humies, the squadron faced a small pack of confused but very prepared Humies. The bipedal creatures opened fire and the ooze ambush squad, turning the tables completely.
"Retreat!"
screamed Ayu.
"Retreat! We've been discovered!"
The squadron fled in failure. How did they do that? Thought the captain as he ran for his life. The ambush was supposed to be perfect. The ambush was supposed to be perfect, snarled the general. Hackles raised. He glared at Captain Ayu and the researcher Oi. You mangy pieces of crap, better tell me what happened.
I don't know.
Captain Ayu seemed overcome with despair.
The Humies knew that we were coming the entire time.
That is impossible. The researcher gave a sniff of dismissal. The environmental suits are flawless. With a tap of her clicker, the large screen lit up. Here is a record of the test run. The envy suits were the exact shade of the tall grass. As you see, the suits blend in perfectly. They're equipped with these best sound. Turn that screen off! The general seemed ready to attack his two subordinates. I know about the features of the suit. You haven't shut up about them for the past 2 weeks. If the suits are so flawless, then why did your ambush fail? I sniffed again.
I suppose the environmental suits are only good as the soldiers wearing them.
Captain bristled. He extended his claws and stepped closer to the unconcerned researcher.
The suits failed because of you. I lost half of my squad.
Impossible. Oi flicked her tail and turned her attention to the general.
Sir, I suggest you try the environmental suits again, but this time send out a more competent squad.
She shook her head with disappointment.
With that technology, it should be impossible to lose. I don't know how they did it.
I don't know how you did it, General Smith, leader of the Human Defense Force, said. looking at Captain Taurus with amazement. Ever since the humans colonized the Green Garden world of Legong, the Oo had been in constant thorn at their side. How did you manage to defeat an ambush of 70 Oo with half the troops?
It wasn't that hard, ma'am.
Saw them from a mile away. The captain shrugged. The Feckers were wearing red. End of story. I just want to thank the T5 patrons and channel members. Bob the Dragon, Cam Maxwell, Casper Arnholtz, Estrella the Dreamer, Tryagain95, Fudigiol, Meridian117, Alithia, Jordan Bucksbaum, Angry Marine, Albarden Gusta, and Barkey. Thank you very much. And that, my friends, concludes this video. I hope that you enjoyed. There are links down below, both to support this channel and for the author of this fiction. Anyways, I hope you all have a fantastic one, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.